Now you need to know that I love Pride. Like I love, 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 love Pride. And I love churches that march in Pride. They make me cry, really, every time. When a church marches in a Pride parade, it is a statement that they have consciously wrestled with the demons that religion has brought upon us and came out solidly on the side of inclusion, belonging, love, and rejoicing. I have never until yesterday watched a Pride parade. I've only marched in one. And I have marched in every parade for probably the last 15 years. I was so proud that our much smaller congregation than this could get somewhere between 30 and 80 people to show up to march. There was always a flatbed liner, kind of the trailer, with banners on it, with chairs for some of our oldest folks. We had some of our members in their 80s who would be in every parade. It was also perfect for the kids to ride on that, and they would be handing out the handouts and the candy to anyone else who was marching. There were straight people, there were queer people. All of us marched in the parade. I love that my children marched with their church as soon as they were old enough to march. Being part of the Pride community was natural to them, even before their mother was out and a part of it. I loved marching and handing out cards or fans or offers to marry people or stickers or candy. And I loved seeing people in the crowd be so excited to have a church that was excited to see them. I often saw tears, the idea that a church loved the community so much that they were willing to march for them. Having churches be part of Pride is important. It's really important. As a religious professional, I have seen so many times the harm that a religious organization can inflict on our LGBTQ community. The shame that people wear all of their lives, the excuses to kick a family member out of their home, the justification to treat them as a sinner. I have seen how that has made many, many in the LGBTQ community skeptical of religion, often forever. How it has cut them off from accessing their spiritual side, knowing that they are truly holy, and often cutting them off from the possibility of community and resources and support that come with being a part of a religious community. This past Thursday night, I got to be one of the speakers of a bunch of queer religious leaders in Phoenix. I was the only one who had a positive coming out story regarding their church. Out of 20, the only one. As UUs, we need to tell the world that there are religious communities where we do not struggle with our faith and the misinterpreted words of the Bible. One of the most frequent questions I got when I was the candidate to be your minister that week that feels so long ago was, does this mean we will march in the Pride Parade? Now, I'm pretty sure that I was asked that so much because I'm your first gay minister. But I also know that many of you are very interested in showing our own pride in supporting the community. And this was not the year to start organizing a big parade. And Pride is wonderful and complicated. So I thought we would take this year to kind of look at those complexities and unpeel this onion a little bit and start the conversation so that we can have a plan in place for next year's Pride. When this pandemic is over, and it will be over, right? Someday, please? And I need to make the caveat that Karen and I just went to our first Phoenix Pride yesterday. So I know that there are a lot of you out there who know so much more about Phoenix, its history with Pride, than I do. But I'm still willing to enter into this conversation, and I hope that you will too. So let's delve into some of the complicated layers, shall we? Let's remember from Sarah's wonderful reading the reminder that the first Pride was a riot. It was a protest of how the community was treated. It was led by Marsha P. Johnson, a Black transgender woman, and most of the people involved were Black and brown. And their act of resistance, of saying they were not going to be treated like that anymore, that changed the future for all of us. We must remember that that is the origin of Pride. Pride now is, to say the least, very different from that riot. It is joyful. It is highly organized. It has a lot of money involved. This year's lead sponsor is Bud Light Seltzer. And a lot of the parade participants are now corporations. It is often run by the movers and the shakers in the gay community. Often, though, many of those movers and shakers are cisgender, gay, white men. Basically the same group of people who have had power in most of our modern Western history, except that they're gay. Phoenix Pride is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. In their promotional video, they talk a lot about how they struggled financially and overcame. However, I'm challenged by how much of their video was about the money side. They talked about how they now have $1 million budget. They talked about how they are running Pride more like a corporation. And right below the video, actually on every page, are a list of all the sponsors, right next to the $30 tickets. I have never been to a Pride festival that charges. That's not super welcoming and inclusive. And Phoenix has its challenges with its police, and Phoenix Pride has a history of prominently featuring the police. We know that the Phoenix Police Department is one of the most deadly in the country, and we know that our Black and brown community members are disproportionately affected. And our undocumented siblings are also targeted by police. We can't separate the intersectionality of the LGBTQ community and our Black and brown communities. There are plenty of people who overlap in that, and the two make up for some of the most vulnerable in our communities. And Pride must deal with that as well. And here's another layer. We loved the Pride Festival and the parade. We saw so much diversity, more than we normally see in Phoenix. We were in participation, not in leadership, but the joyous, free people who were holding hands and kissing and feeling comfortable and being themselves, dressing in all of the colors with all of the flags, was beautiful to see. So how do we reconcile all of this? I recommend taking a page from Trans Queer Pueblo's book. Be out and be proud, and also be clear about what you're still fighting for and what you want to see changed. And then go and promote that. So how can UUCP do that? Well, we might say that there are too many challenges and we should find another way to support our LGBTQ siblings. Maybe we decide we should march and hand out something that shows our support for continued change. Maybe we find out what Trans Queer Pueblo is asking for now and amplify their needs. Maybe we can pay for our entry to the parade and then also pay for all of the entrance fees for the members of Trans Queer Pueblo that want to go. Maybe we very openly say who we are and what we are standing for and striving to be as a way of resistance. And we also need to figure out how we can show our support for having UUCP part of Pride. If you feel strongly enough, perhaps you're willing to serve on a team to organize it. After all, we can't do this without some folks to help. And oh, it is fun to decorate a Pride trailer. Pride started as a protest. There is still room for protest in the challenge for full equity, even within our progressive movements. And there are so many reasons to be proud. Proud that we are a Unitarian Universalist certified welcoming congregation. Proud that our denomination and this congregation supported LGBTQ inclusion far before most religions did. And yes, even that we have a gay minister. Let's celebrate that. And let's remember that I could not be a minister either as a woman or as a queer person in many denominations still. Let's celebrate the immense diversity we have in our congregation and in our wider community. Let's celebrate all of our people. May they be transgender, asexual, pansexual, agender, non-binary, bisexual, lesbian, femme, butch, queer, bear, twink, or not fitting into any category, but marvelously, fantastically, courageously queer nonetheless. I invite you to join with me by responding, "May we live in the spirit of pride." That's the words, and I want you to say them from your couch, from your kitchen, wherever you are. Join me in saying, "May we live the spirit of pride," as I share these words of Elizabeth Ketchum. With gratitude for the freedom to be our true, authentic selves, may we live in the spirit of pride. With the courage that comes from challenging fear, may we live in the spirit of pride. With sorrow for those who could not be with us today, and in honor of those who died of AIDS, of suicide, or of murder, let us live, may we live in the spirit of pride. With grief for those whose pain was unbearable, may we live in the spirit of pride. Looking ahead to the justice still withheld, may we live in the spirit of pride. With the confidence that a sense of community banishes isolation and loneliness, may we live in the spirit of pride. And with the rainbow flag flying high, a sense of beloved community among us and the joy that comes from making new connections, may we live in the spirit of pride. So might it be.